I submitted a pull request against start.spring.io. I got some feedback, so I'm just gonna work on that. We're having fun. Good morning. If you're up, it's early for me. I had a early call this morning and I wasn't going back to bed. So let's just get up. Let's get something done while we have some quiet time. And yeah, let's just go from there. So I got some feedback. This is how open source works. I said, hey, here's my code. I would love if you would merge it. And I got some feedback. So let's go and fix that feedback. We got some changes here. Spring Shell package info. And extensions. So that's all we're doing. One of the questions that I get a lot is like, how do I contribute? I want to be a part of Spring. I want to be a part of what's going on. And this is it. This is how you do it. You start, you find something. And one of the things for me, right? I said this the other day. I'll find it. Like, I get it. Sometimes it's like finding it's hard to like fit in, and sometimes it'd be nice to have like somebody like hold your hand and walk you through. Well, the Spring team kind of does that. So I'm trying to get better at it, right? Like, do as I say, not as I do. I said, like, look, I think I said it the right way. I'm trying to get better. All right, like a good friend of mine, Brian, and Aaron, like they had this mindset of, here's what we're going to do. We are going to, when we run into something that doesn't look right, we're going to open up an issue, right? We're getting the benefit of open source. We're taking it to production. We're building our businesses on top of it. So just to be nice, right? To like be a part of the community. Here's what we do. When we find something that doesn't make sense, right? And this is, again, I've been hesitant because I know how hard that the Spring team is working, and I know I don't always want to like add more stuff. So what I try to do, right? Let me just draw a picture. Maybe I'll draw a picture. I think I have one over here. Like maybe this is what I expected. This is actually what I saw. Yeah, like I read the docs. I read the docs. Watched the demo. Did the guide, whatever it was. This is what I expected. This is where I found something in the docs or in something that didn't match. This is what I saw. This is where I open up an issue. Or we. Here, let's do it this way. As soon as we get something that's different, right? When I had something different than what I expected, this is when it's time to open up an issue. Now, the cool thing is, Brian and Aaron, what they were doing is as soon as they did that, they would go and look at the code. They'd be like, here's a side, like, why is it not working this way? They would open up the issue, right? Step one, but then their next step, like if you've got time, right? Boop, boop, boop. And this is where I was struggling. It's like, look, I didn't want to just open up an issue and then leave it and forget about it. Even though I couldn't, it could be a note to myself. It could, maybe somebody else is in that already. So I'm going to try to get better at opening up the issue when I find it. Instead of, I was kind of building my own little backlog of issues. Saying that, oh, I'll get to it and I'll do the PR because that's what I saw, right? They were really comfortable. Like, hey, they go look at the code. And a lot of times, boom, like this is what was happening. So what I'm trying to do, this is my new default, but I was hesitant I know I got to get better. I want to do better. So when I run into an issue, I'm going to go ahead and create an issue. And then when I get time, I'm going to go look at the code. But I want to make sure that those issues are getting created because there's a problem. I want to at least give somebody else a heads up. Like, hey, if you tried to do this thing in the doc and it doesn't work, it doesn't work. This is what I got. I got my output, right? Make sure. Right, when you open up, this is massive, right? When you open up the issue, add some code that replicates the issue so that somebody else comes along and they say, oh yeah, I got the same thing. Oh yep, here, if somebody wants to go and take a look at the code, they can go fix, they've got a test right there, right? You know that when you do the PR, hopefully the code that replicated the issue doesn't replicate the issue anymore, right? That's your test. So it's easy to go and yeah, fix. Hello. I'm glad you're here. It's early morning where I'm at, 6 a.m. here in the greater Kansas City area. But Arun, I'm Deshaun. I'm a Spring Developer Advocate. You're used to seeing Josh Long here, but we're on the same team. We work together. And I was just up. I've been doing stuff. But my parents still watch every show. So if you're here, you're joining, you're hanging out, say hello and tell us where you're from because my parents love to see that. Love you, Mom and Dad. This is how do I contribute? Right, this is the idea. Like, it doesn't take much. And I'll be honest, like, I don't have projects that I'm digging into. I'm kind of sitting at the solution. I'm gonna glue things together. If they don't work, I'll find another way around. But this is how I want to be. I want to open up issues and I want to keep on going. So this is how you can also help. So that's what I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna fix this. This is what it looks like, right? I found an issue. My issue, I'll show you exactly what the issue was, right? I'm a big fan of Spring Shell. And when I go over here to Spring Shell, I can look inside of start.spring.io. I'm gonna do this. I don't need to do anything, but of course I'd use Java 21. And I can go look at the code that it generates. And what I would like to see here is I'd like to see the Spring Shell test. I want to have my test classes with a project that I make at start.spring.io. That's all. So what I did was I opened up an issue. Boy, it sure be nice. And it's open source. So you can go see the steps that I did. Look at this. Hello from Nepal. Sandesh, wonderful. Hello, hello. Arun is from UK, wonderful. I'm glad that you're here. This is neat. I don't have anything, like there's no agenda here. If you've got questions, anything, you're trying to figure out some cheat codes, yeah, ask away, ask away. But in the meantime, this is what I said. Hey, Spring Shell should also add Spring Shell starter test. I could have opened up the issue there. I've known that this has been the case for a while, but I didn't open it up until a couple of days ago. So I went, I did some research. I said, hey, in that issue, I said, I read this other one. You know, it's similar. It's a similar expectation. Hello, Valdemar. Hello from Brazil. This is amazing. So it's early for you too. Well, I guess depending on where you're at. Hello, good morning. I opened up that issue. I created a PR. It didn't take long. The nice thing about Spring Boot, the code, because I've been doing Spring long enough, because you've been using Spring for years, the conventions are easy to understand. It's easy to kind of find your way through, search for a couple of things, and it's pretty easy to contribute. If you've been using Spring, you'll find that it's easy to contribute. So that's what I did. And my recommendation, what I would encourage you to do, even when it's like a typo in a doc, even when it's like, oh, it's just a guide and there's missing this little thing, the littlest things are important. Now, more important than ever because of AI, because we're using these docs, we're pulling it in and we're doing the analysis to generate code, for example. So these doc changes, the guides and the little samples, we got to make sure that they work and they make sense. And the language around those things works. But this is simple. So we're going to go and try to fix these. So I'm an extension dependency Spring Shell packaging. Dependency. I added this Spring Shell, and I copied, right? I copied over and I didn't replace this. Boom. So that was this. This. Yep, change security to shell. Okay. Then the next one is here. It says, please add some class level Javadoc similar to this. Let's do it. It says tests for. I can do that. I can copy and paste. So when I talked about like, wouldn't it be nice to have somebody like holding your hand to show you what to do? That's what's happening. I'm lucky because Andy is showing me exactly what to do. This is my first time contributing to something that you're going to get to use outside of a doc. So I'm going to copy, and Andy is holding my hand to help me through this. So that was here in the Spring Shell test build customizer. This is my tests. Test Java extensions dependency all the way down in Spring Shell. Boop. Here, right? He says, just add some Javadoc. That's easy enough. I'm feeling pretty lucky so far. So this is tests for not Spring Security Shell. This is for Spring Shell test build customizer. Fantastic. Oop. Not that one. And the author, it's not Stefan. It's me. All right. So that's 2 down. Is that it? Oh, wait, no. Here. We don't use var. We don't use var. A single statement could be used here. I know why I put var there is because I was trying to debug and make sure that my customizer was actually working. So I was looking at the dependencies that it generated. So I remember why I added that there. So that's up here in the customizer on line 34. Let's go back. Here, right? We don't use var. So what do we need to do? Oh, this could just be a single line. He's saying like, hey, I can just do this. So I don't need a var there. Let's just put that right here. I just add it. Now what I do know is that I have to do this. MDNW Java Spring format apply. I think. I forget what it is. History. Apply. Spring-Java format apply. 3, 1, 2. Make sure that my code matches the format of the rest of the team. This is what we're doing. So now, boom, it works. It's been formatted properly. So it's going to pass. But now, I had created a PR. I got feedback from Andy. Andy's holding my hand. How cool is this that I get to, right, even though this is a PR, like right now, Josh likes to say, when you use Spring Boot, you're pairing with the Spring team. I'm giving the Spring team my code. I gave them my code. I just got a review, a code review from the Spring team. But this, I work for Spring, but you could do the same thing. You submit a PR to a project, you're gonna get this same like handling. They're gonna onboard you. They're gonna let you know, here, this is how we move forward. And this is great. So not only am I pairing with the Spring team, using all the benefits and all the tips and tricks and conventions that they provided to me, but now I'm getting a code review from the Spring team because I chose to raise my hand and contribute something. They could say no, right? They could say no, but here they didn't say no. They said, hey, how about we recommend, here's some changes that follow. This is how the Spring team does it. So I think I'm good. I had some recommendations. Here's the change. I did that, security to shell. Here I removed var. I made it a single statement. And the last one says class level Java doc similar to this. I did it. So now all I need to do is get, let me make sure I'm on my branch, get status. I want to make sure this is how I do my convention. I did the fork. I pulled it into my GitHub repo, so you can go see all the changes that I made. But I pulled it into my repo. I'm making the changes in my repo, and then I'm using that fork to submit my pull request. So here I've made my changes. I'm going to do it one more time, just for sanity check. I applied, so I've got the right Spring format, for my code, and that's easy so that they don't have the big diff, right? So everybody has the same thing. And then git add dot. Here's my changes. Git commit -m. I'm signing it by default. I'm signing it so they know that it's from me. I've got my key set up and I've configured Git to automatically sign my code when I do a commit. So I'm going to do a git commit, and I'm going to say, these are requested changes. Okay, I push that up to my branch. So I can go and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. If I go to github.com, Deshawn/start.spring.io, you'll see that it is forked from Spring.io. My changes, I made my commits, and I don't need to sync the fork because I have my PR, right? I've already done my PR. So if I go over to here, I should see that my PR is here. And I see that I've now got 2 commits. Here's the requested changes, excuse me. So I can go back to the conversation and I can say, hey, Andy, thank you. I've taken care of that one. And also, I've taken care of this one. Thank you. And I'm just saying, hey, thanks. Thanks for holding my hand with this PR. It has been a pleasure getting a code review from you. Thanks. I want to put like a little thing. Smile. Boom. Here we go. This is great. This is how anybody can contribute. We've been pairing with the Spring team for years, but I'm the lucky recipient. I got a code review from Andy Wilkinson. I do. I get giddy about these kind of things. So yeah, resolved. Now, this is the tough part. I'm going to be honest. Open source, it's highs and lows. It's highs and lows. I've got stuff that I've put out there that some of you are using. And sometimes it's like, hey, whenever it says thank you, like, oh, it feels so good. And sometimes somebody says, I found a bug. Can you fix this, please, now? Sometimes, not the best. But the other part, right? I just got a code review from Andy. I submitted this, and the way that it works for me is now I'm going to be watching my GitHub notifications, and I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna check it every hour. I'm gonna check it every hour to see, hey, has it been merged? Did they kick it back? Like, what happened? I'm feeling pretty good that I got a review that says, hey, just here's some recommended changes. I feel good. That's promising, right? He didn't kick it back. He said, no, we're not going to do that. He said, hey, how about you try this? That makes me feel good. But again, I'm going to be watching. I'll be checking about every hour, maybe more. It just depends to see if that works, see if it gets pulled. So it's still early. It's still early, like here for me. And I know we got time. It could happen today. It could absolutely happen today. So the other day, Josh, so while I'm in this project, right, the other day, Josh brought up an issue. And because I'm here and I'm already messing with it, I might as well work on that. at start.spring.io. Here was Josh's issue. So I didn't open the issue. So again, let's go back to my notes, right? Hey, I did the things. This is what I expected. And I'll tell you what Josh expected. So let's go over here and let's just review. You tell me, I would like your feedback. So here was the concern. I'm going to do it with Maven. What we were doing was we added Postgres. We added PG Vector. What else did we add? I think that was it. Oh, and test container. No, Docker Compose. So here was the concern. If I'm doing this, let's see. Francisco says, hi from Spain. Wonderful. That's the best part. Waiting to be merged, right? Like buying something online, some jittery feelings, like the waiting to be merged, like, oh, are they gonna let me in? Like, it's good. And when it does get merged, it feels good. Like it feels good. I'm a big fan of Spring Shell. So for that PR, you go through the docs and here, this is the experience. Let's go back. Francisco, it's a great part of contributing. But here's the thing. If I go to Spring, I go to Spring Shell here. No, not that one. Spring.io. This is the way that you can get to it. Spring, go to view all projects, and Spring Shell, I believe, is right up here on this page somewhere. Here we go, Spring Shell. And we go to learn, and we go to the reference docs. This is where the Spring team is telling us how to use these cool tools. But what happened was I was down here. I wanted to put tests in. So I go testing, I go to basics, and right here, first line, the shell test isn't included. It tells you right here, though. It says, hey, this is provided by two modules, Spring Shell Test and Spring Shell Test Auto Configure. So it tells you where to go get it. But like the nice thing about the initializer, right? When I do it with, again, I went through and I looked. If I add security, right? If I add security and I explore and I look at my POM, when I add security, right? There's security. I also get Spring Security Test. That's great. So I saw that issue. I went and looked, and you didn't always get Spring Security Test when you added Spring Security. I saw somebody else's issue. And I said, hey, yeah, I had this expectation. I want to make it easy. I want an easy button. And even though I was doing this, and maybe you're the same. I was doing this like, oh, here's an example of how I write a test. And I was like, wait, why doesn't it have shell test? I had the expectation. Why doesn't it have shell test? Oh, because of this. I'll be honest, I didn't read this part first before I copied and pasted this into my example. Maybe you do that same thing, but maybe not. Maybe you read all the docs before you get to the code. But that's all. That's all that I was trying to do is I think, if you want to have fun with Spring Shell, you want to do it right, you want to add tests, you would like to have the Spring Shell test included in your project. So that's what that PR was for. So now we got another one. We're doing this. I'm excited for you in your next Spring Shell project. But let's go back here. I'm going to close and I'm going to remove Spring Security and I'm going to take a look. So now there's no Spring Security. I don't have the Spring Security Test. I have Postgres, I have Docker Compose support, I have PG Vector. We can do really interesting things with a project like this. Here's where the issue is. Because I have Docker Compose support, it sets up PG Vector, but it also sets up Postgres. And the thing is, it's putting them on the same port. So I think what Josh was saying is like, yeah, that's the default port for Postgres. I think what Josh is saying is like, hey, let's copy this. And let's go open up an issue. I'm just trying to show you how easy it is to contribute. So let's go back here. I'm here at start.spring.io. There's other issues here, right? There's other issues here. And the issue, where did I put it? Man. Wait, what? Why don't I see my issue? I said here, it's closed. Wait. Duplicates 1, 4, 5, 5. Oh, did I do something wrong? Oh, okay. So here's the one. I did something wrong when I created that issue. Here we are, we're good. So it's still being reviewed, but I wanted to, I don't know what I did here. Oh, I know. When I created the PR, it opened up a new issue. Okay. So here, we're here. This is the issue. I'm just going to create a new issue that's similar to this, right? I think that this was enough information. So I'm going to say, hey, this is an entry upgrade. No. New entry. No. It's this, right? It's not a vulnerability. It's not a question. Yeah, it's this. What is the issue? What's the way to say this? Like when selecting Postgres driver and pgvector, with Docker Compose support, the Compose. Does it work? Let's see. I think I agree. And I'm trying to think of, hey, is there a reason why I would want to have both in this example, right? Because pgvector is just an extension to Postgres. So I think if I've got pgvector, in order to use this pgvector database, I need to have the Postgres database or the Postgres driver. So I guess there's two questions here. When I select pgvector driver, no, because we know that it's Postgres, but I might be using some other driver, and that's okay, right? I might be using Yugabyte with pgvector. There's tons of other Postgres-based databases that allow me, so I don't have to add this, and I don't want people to have to delete code. But when I add them both, I'm going to go ahead and download this. Actually, I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add a web, so I get, actually, I'm going to add actuator. And I'm going to add web. Just I want a container that's up and running. I want to be able to test things. So sample code, right? Great, thank you. Let's do this. But let's just go and see if it runs. Yes, replace that. Let's do this. RMRF demo, because there's probably a demo. Yep, let's remove demo. And then let's unzip demo. And let's go into there. Oops. And let's do this. Let's Docker PS. Do I have anything else up and running? No. So let's do Docker Compose up. So it's pulling down pgvector, it's pulling down Postgres, but it's going to try to start them both on the same port. Is that going to happen? Yep. So they're both listing on 5432. That's cool. Database system is ready to accept connections. That's good. Wait, what? Server stopped. Database system is shut down. Okay, hold on. Let's do it this way. So stop. Let's do it this way. -D. And then if I do Docker Compose stats. Yeah, they're running, right? Docker PS, they're running. Yeah, they're running. So it's giving them ports to pass in. So I've got 2 ports, so there's no conflict. It works. But what is your expectation? So I think what Josh is saying, and so maybe it's a question. I'm not convinced, but I think maybe more often than not, in this case, actually just to go back over here. think more often than not, if I've got pgvector and the Postgres driver, I think I don't want this part. I think I just want to use the pgvector version, and that I assume that I'm only grabbing the Postgres driver to connect to that pgvector database if I've got them both. Is that a safe assumption? Everything else is the same. What do you think? I get it. And the only reason I'm going down this path, I didn't notice. I wasn't feeling this pain. We saw it on a live stream 2 days ago. So I'm going to do this. So let's take a look. The way that it works. I should create the issue first, right? That's kind of the start. It's like, hey, when selecting Postgres driver and pgvector dependencies with Docker Compose support, we should assume so maybe we should only get one. Maybe that's my... Selecting. Does that make sense? Is that well written? Does that make sense? Oh boy. Oh boy. My kids are up. We got some interesting things happening here today. How you doing, son?
That makes sense.
What's that?
That makes sense.
That makes sense to you?
Yeah.
That when I am selecting, let's just review real quick. When I'm selecting both Postgres and pgvector, pgvector is an add-on to Postgres. If I select both of these, does that mean I want two databases?
Sure, why not?
I mean, you could. That's what we do. That makes sense. But with Docker Compose support, I get two databases. They're on the same port. Like, they're pretty much doing the same thing. And with Spring Boot, the microservice architecture, what we're doing, we want an easy path. We want something that makes sense. And if I take this code, here, come up here and look. And I'm connecting to port 5432. Like, if I'm using Postgres, if I'm using Spring Data JPA or Spring AI, like, how do I know which database to connect to? Like, I feel like if by providing both of those, I'm adding some confusion where I really am trying to make it easy. I want to make it simple. And I think that this actually adds confusion. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because if I'm using pgvector, really, pgvector is like an upgraded version of Postgres. Right? They even run on the same port. Right? They even have like the same environment variables. You can see that there's a lot of similarities between these two. Right? Yeah. And the other thing here is too, look at even the label here. If I'm using a service connection, it even calls pgvector Postgres. So this, I think, is confusing. So let's copy this. Let's copy this into our issue. Let's just, look here. This is, we'll call it the example. It's just compose.yaml, right? That file is compose.yaml. Example compose.yaml. Boop, and this is YAML. Boop. Let's take a look at it. Boop. Yeah. The label on that pgvector vector service even says Postgres. I think we should assume that the user only wants one instance in this case. In this case, we should remove the Postgres service from the compose.yaml. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Take a look. It says, hey, the label on the PG vector service even says Postgres. I think we could. Which one? I'm trying to watch my language, right? I don't want to be, right? Maybe there's a reason, right? And I don't know what that reason is. Right? So Francisco says, like, yeah, I guess you're right. Only PG vector should be provided. I agree. Thank you, Francisco. I appreciate like this, just this, right? We're on the same team. We're both contributing here. This is good. So, right, Francisco agrees. The label, it even says Postgres. I think we should assume that the user, only wants one instance. One. In this case, we should remove the Postgres service from the compose YAML that gets delivered. That's not too much to ask, I don't think. So I'm going to submit this. I'm going to open the issue. I'm going to open this issue. This is me trying to get better. I saw something. Francisco agrees. I saw something that's I think worth changing. And again, we talked. When I submit, if I go and I generate code for this and I submit a PR, somebody on the Spring team is going to give me a review. They're going to look at it and they're going to evaluate it.
You're on the Spring team?
I'm in marketing. Like I'm Spring team adjacent, but I'm not one of the committers to the Spring team. I do things like this. This is my contribution to the Spring team. That's a good question. My son asks, do you think that any of the Spring ecosystem is used by the team over at Epic for Fortnite? My son's a big Fortnite fan. And honestly, we can find out if they've got Spring in the building because we've got friends over there at Epic. And we can find out. We can go ask. And because you like it so much, I'm going to ask my friends. And we'll find out. So you'll have to come back to find out if Epic has Spring or if they use it. Or maybe they won't tell me. Maybe I can't share that. But I'm going to find out for myself. And this is fun. This is what we do. This is how we contribute to open source. It takes all of us. Right? There's only a handful of committers, right, that work over here at Broadcom. But the Spring ecosystem is massive. And the reason that it's been around for so long and that it's so valuable and everybody likes it is because we can do things like this. Yes. Oh, we definitely know that Spring is used by Netflix.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah, we know that one.
Yes. Lawrence, good morning. I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you I can figure out if there's any for
Oh, my son is. We're an hour and a half before we even think about getting ready for school, and my son's asking if he can play Fortnite.
I'm ready for school.
Whew. So this is what's happening in my house. Yep. LOL. Old news to the young king. Yeah. This is what we do. So I'm going to pause here. If my kids are getting up, I'm going to go and hang out with the kids for a little bit. It's been an early day. There's a lot more of the day left. I've got some other things that I'd like to do. But for now, we had a short little stream. We updated an issue. And now we cross our fingers and we hope that we get some response. And this says a way to create. Oh, here we go. Francisco says, I don't know if valid, but other thing I have to do quite often when using Docker Compose with Mongo, I would like to get a folder with initializers for it. So here, this is Francisco. Logan,
Yeah.
pull up a chair. Like, let's do it. Here, actually, come up here. Like, let's just do this together.
It's too tall.
Okay, let's move it down a little bit. Yep. So, That's my son. Right there. That's good.
Okay.
Right, you can see. There we go.
Hi.
So Francisco says, like, I don't know if it, but other thing I have to do quite often when using Docker Compose with Mongo, I would like to get a folder with initializers for it. Can you, or he says, a way to create a folder. Can you tell me more? I'm not a big Mongo user, but let's go. If I go over here, where'd you go?
Right here.
Okay, come here. I want you to do this.
Okay.
So we're gonna close this. We're gonna refresh. We're gonna start .spring.io.
Alright.
And Francisco says when he uses Mongo. So I want you to go to Add Dependencies. And up here you can type Mongo.
Oh.
M-O-N-G-O. Oh, you can't see on that. M-O-N-G-O. All right, so look at here. Do you want to be reactive or not? Right?
Reactive.
Reactive, okay, grab it. And then I want you to grab over here. We need Docker Compose support. It's right there. Right, so this is what he was saying. Hey, Docker Compose with Mongo, I'd like to have a folder with this. I'd be able to create one. So we like to use Maven here because we like the schema. Gradle's fast and awesome, but we use Maven.
Java, duh.
Yeah, Java. Which version of Java?
22.
Absolutely. That's my son. Then let's hit Explore. We don't have to generate it. Let's hit Explore.
Explore.
And then go to the compose.yaml. So I think
Very sensitive.
this, we get the latest image from Mongo. That's great. We get some default ports and we get a default config. But what he's saying is like, hey, we want to be able to create some folders with initializers. So let me know if I'm on the right track here. If I'm using JPA or GDBC, what I can do, let me drive for just a sec. I can go over here to source main resources, and inside of resources, I know I can put my schema and I can initialize. I can have a init, I think, init.sql, and I can load some data. Is that what you're looking for? You'd like some kind of like path? Here's the thing, start.spring.io doesn't generally add code, right? We don't get a lot of code. We just kind of get the shell for what we're doing. Sorry, son. We get a shell. We want to make it easy, but I think I understand what you're saying. I would love an example. Like show me it. I'm gonna go back to my code here.
Yeah.
This is what I expect. This is what I would like to do. What I would like from you, Francisco, if you're comfortable making a GitHub or a GitLab repository, what I'd like to see is like a simple example of what you get from start.spring.io, and then show me what you want added to that repository, because I'd like to discuss. That's my job. I'm here at your service. I want to understand where you are and the things that you need and that you're looking for. And while you do that, I want to show you one more thing. Think about that. Yeah, this is my son. He's a Java, duh. Yeah, that's what we do. He's well on his way to being a developer advocate. I'm going to bump this back up so I can type and I'm not crouching. So look at Francisco says, yes, he can try. He's going to go and just give me an example of what you're looking for or what you'd like to see. And while you do that, I'm going to show you what I've done. Because I'm not great at typing and remembering all the things. I use my IDE, but sometimes when I'm in front of an audience, I panic and I forget and I get twidgety fingers and I can't talk and type at the same time. So what I've done.
Something streamers have to use.
What's that?
That's something streamers have to
Streamers have to be able to talk and type at the same time. So, listen to this guy. So what I've done is I've created some repositories that give me an example of the code that, right, if I'm always creating a folder for initializers for all of my projects, and I'm using Mongo a lot, what I would do is I'd have a simple Spring Mongo repository that has in it, right, these are repositories that I created and I put into a catalog that has in it the examples of what I do. So all those steps that I take after start.spring.io to remind myself on how to code, I've made repositories for that. So that when I start a Spring Shell project, I've gone one step further. I've given myself some tests. I've reminded myself like, hey, you're gonna probably change the prompt that you get. because these are things that I do all the time. You're probably going to want to test the commands that you create. So I put some examples, some reference implementations in my catalog. And there's a gap, right? There's a gap between just kind of giving an outline, making that outline easy to help get people started, and where the best practices are, where the example codes are, right? We have the guides, right? If I do Spring Shell guide, or no, let's just do a Spring Boot guide that we know is out there. Right? We usually have these guides, and this is where you go to get code samples. And these guides kind of walk you through, but you don't always want, right? This one specifically. I've gone through this guide hundreds of times over the past 10 years, right? I've seen it, I've walked through it. And maybe you don't, right? There's a gap here too, where I just want the code, right? I just want the code that shows me the example and I'll figure it out. Well, that's what I've done. I've taken and I've made my own guide for the way that I take stuff to production on my Raspberry Pis. That's what I've done over here. These are my examples. So, Francisco, thanks for sharing what you'd like to see. This example of having this project catalog of examples, I can use this way. I can go like this. I can say Spring project catalog list. This is the new Spring CLI. And I've got other catalogs that I'm pulling from. So Juice, that's mine. That's the catalog that we just looked at. This is a list of all the repositories that are there. When you grab the Spring CLI, you get the getting started guides. That code, that complete code that we just looked at over here, that REST service, that example, the code is here. You don't have to go to the guide and read through the guide. You can do this, Spring. Oh, and this is another repository. These are Craig Wall's AI examples. So AI projects, different AI use cases. I can say Spring project list, and I get all of these easy to use examples from all of those repositories. So up here from Juice, from my repositories, there's a bunch. Here's a bunch of examples from Craig and his, like using Spring AI prompt templates and output parsers. Right? There's an example project that you can pull down, and then also the ones from the Spring CLI, like the REST, where did it go? Web, right here, the REST service. So what I can do, if I want to create a new project, instead of going to start.spring.io, in addition to going to start.spring.io to start my journey to production, I can do something like this, Spring Boot, new, morning project. And I can say, I want to pull from any one of these projects, right? So my Shell example, since we started the show with Shell, didn't I have is it not in my list?
Don't freak out.
I won't freak out. So let's just grab one of the other ones. I want to grab Modulith. And I get a project. I'm wrapping up, son. We're going to see if we can stick the landing. So what I've done now is I've got Modulith simple, or I've got a project called Morning Project, and I can open that up, and I have the best practices that I take to production. Pink Emma's here, everybody. Hide your keys. What's sweet and sour? I'll tell you what's sweet and sour. What's sweet is that I'm part of the Spring ecosystem, and I'm able to contribute PRs and create issues, and I can just say like, hey, this is what I saw, and I can share my opinion, and I'm listened to.
Wait.
That's one of the best things about the Spring
Did you just say
community.
you want to create issues?
Yeah, I can open up issues. I can say like, hey, could you fix this? Or hey, I think this would be a good, nice new feature. I can just have a conversation with the Spring team like they're on my team. You could do that.
Yeah.
Right, and that's awesome.
They do
Right,
like-
imagine being able to do that with Fortnite. You know, how many times have you said like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if Fortnite did this? If Fortnite was an open source game, like there are plenty of, you could say, hey, it would be cool if Fortnite did this, or if game did this. And not only that, if you had the time in game that's similar to Fortnite, you could say, hey, I think it would be cool to do this here's some code that does this in the open source game. Take it for a spin. This is the way I play, and take it for a spin. You can contribute that so that everybody else can have fun with the stuff that you make. You can improve it on your own. That's part of open source. Is make, hey, I had fun playing the game. I have this idea for how to make it better, and you can not only recommend that idea, but you could develop. You could deliver the code because you know that everybody else is busy, and a lot of times the amount of users of popular open source things. You imagine if Fortnite was open source, right? How many millions of users are using Fortnite? How many of them would be nice when they say, "Hey, fix this"? How many of them would be nice when they, right? We know, right? So open source is the same way, right? People are building their businesses on it, and they're like, "Oh, well, my business needs this," and sometimes they're not nice. But it takes a village, right? We all have to do this. So we have this opportunity, and this is great. I've got now code with my examples of how to go to production, right? I've got examples of a Spring Modulus project. This is great. It's got tests. It's got everything needed for me to hit the go button, and this is valuable. And Lawrence here, my friend, did you say you're going to create issues? Lawrence here, we can work together, right? We can build these projects that have front ends and back ends, and we can both build components that glue together using the Spring CLI. And that's what we're going to work on. You just wait, stay tuned. So, my kids are getting up. He tells lies, your keys, secrets, and tokens are safe with me. That's not true. Don't believe her. Don't believe her. It's on the internet. I'm happy that you guys are here. I hope that things are going wonderful for you. Lawrence, I'm glad. Thank you for hanging out. I'm gonna call it good. This is a nice little stream. I hope, Francisco, my contact info. Let me just do that real quick. I want to follow up with you on this. I want to understand what you're doing. Even if we don't open an issue for it, I want you to know that you have access. Like, reach out to me. I am a Spring Developer Advocate. I've been doing this role for 863 days, but this is where you can find me. I'm also on Coffee Software, so not just the YouTube for Deshaun, also Coffee Software. But get a hold of me, and my email is sean.carter@broadcom.com. Let me know. I would love to see it. And I am not going to be at Devoxx UK next week, but I will be at Spring I/O very soon, the end of May. Your Spring One CFP is still open. If you need help getting your CFP submitted, let me know. I'm here to help. I hope you have fun. I've been watching a lot of the Devoxx content lately on YouTube. It's a lot of great stuff. I feel like I've been missing out by not watching some of it sooner. So have fun. Thanks for hanging out here. But yeah, we're going to call it good. My kids are up. I want to go and hang out with the kids for a little bit before school. So thanks. But stay tuned. I might join on later. Josh is going to be up shortly, and maybe we'll do something together. So, yes. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Lauren says, I got your GitHub repo of Spring One Insights. You have 30 thoughts on how we'll execute. Yes, indeed. This is going to be fun. Thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out. Enjoy the rest of your day, or enjoy whatever you're doing next. And we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.